The Finder starts the morning and says Cabinet OK's new plan, coordinated program of economic and social development policies, goes to Parliament soon. That's the front page of the Finder. The Daily Statesman, CID probes $2.3 billion shady gold export. That's the big one on the Statesman. The Daily Graphic, GAS annuls dismissal of 51 students of Prempeh Senior High School for poor performance. And Daily Guide says Apia Stadium rearrested. The Ghanaian Times says will strengthen private sector to create jobs. These are some of the papers I have with me here this morning. My guest to do the talking, a Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports, a member of the NPP, PAS, Enam Hajide. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're doing great.
We are fine, by
Thanks
grace.
so much for your Wednesday morning. And then Member of Parliament for Tamale North constituency, Alhaji Suhini. Good morning too.
Good morning.
You're doing great.
My pleasure.
Thanks for
well,
your
thank
time.
you.
Right, so let's start this morning with the story on the guy this morning, the Apia Stadium arrest for insulting president. That's how the Daily Guide captures the story. It says the police in Kumasi, capital of the Ashanti region, yesterday morning grabbed Apia Stadium, an ardent supporter of ex-president John Dramani Mahama and the NDC. He was cooling off with his wife in his house at Pechi New Site at about 11 a.m. when policemen stormed the place and handcuffed him to the police station. Plainclothes police officers picked him up and brought him to Accra for the necessary action in line with police duties in matters bordering crime. The police said the country's law prohibits plain insults and attacks on public officers, including the president of the Republic. And since Apia Stadium had openly said that President Nana-Addo is with Smock, he was apprehended to substantiate his allegation. The NDC serial caller and one-time security man at the Babayara Sports Stadium in Kumasi admitted that he erred in using unprintable words to describe President Akufo-Addo, who he said is old enough to be his father. That's the story so far. This paper is suggesting that as at the time of press, Daily Guide had learned that he might be released and sent back to Kumasi. The paper also suggests that Apia Stadium faces a preliminary charge of breaching Section 208 of the Criminal Code, which talks about publication of false information in the public. Sources at the regional police headquarters in Kumasi disclosed that his case is serious, and so he would surely be arraigned before a court of law very soon. That's the Guide story. But a statement signed by the information minister that is circulating suggests that the president says he's not interested in the whole issue. Paz, let me begin with you. The police arrest and the fact that the president said he's not interested in it, can we conclude that the police erred in picking up the gentleman?
Well, thank you very much. Let me start off by saying a good morning to your good self and my colleague here and to our cherished viewers. And also do permit me, my brother, to say a big congratulations to the Black Stars, Team B, for making their country proud and winning the Wafu tournament that was hosted and organized very successfully in Ghana over the past couple of days. And also let me use the opportunity to appreciate the kind gesture of His Excellency the President of donating $100,000 to the team. This team, you would recall, were not paid the traditional winning bonuses, as it were. We believed in their capacity to win the trophy. We knew that this was a formidable team, and so on and so forth, and it was our position that they should play towards the cash prize that was at stake, and they did their nation very, very proud, therefore ending the trophy drought that had bedeviled us. And I think that it is important that as Deputy Minister responsible for that sector, I congratulate them as well. The police could not have been wrong in arresting Mr. Apia Stadium. The law allows the police to do that. The manner and style may be discussed, and it is my view that we should continually become more refined in the way we approach these things. For somebody who definitely was not armed and did not pose any present and clear physical danger, as it were, I would have appreciated if, for instance, Apia Stadium was not handcuffed to the stadium. I believe that he could just have come with the police. I am not aware as to whether he attempted to resist arrest, which may have informed the police decision to handcuff him. The information
the
I
guy
have,
said he did not resist.
So
arrest.
Exactly the point I am making, therefore, that I do not see the need for handcuffs to have been put on him. But to speak directly to the question whether the police erred, the police definitely could not have erred. I have listened to the tape of Mr. Apia Stadium. It is reprehensible, and all well-meaning people of Ghana must condemn it. It's a disgrace that not only are we talking about His Excellency the President, the first gentleman of the land, we are talking about a human being, somebody in his own words who is old enough to be your father. Forget which party he belongs to. Forget even him being His Excellency the President. But treat him just as a human being. And you don't say such unprintable things about a human being. But, of course, I and my party, we do not approve of insulting attitude, either on national radio or TV or anywhere else for that matter. However, my approach this morning is to reach out. Let this be learning curve for Mr. Apia Stadium and people who may be tempted to act like him. You're right about the statement that has been issued by the Minister of Information, telling the world that the President is not interested in this matter. In fact, this matters. What Mr. Apia Stadium said, the unprintable things he said, which unfortunately I cannot repeat on air, were things that before the 2016 election, repeatedly, newspapers from the NDC stock, especially the Al-Hajj newspaper, the Enquirer newspaper, the Daily Post newspaper, and so on and so forth, consistently and continually published falsehood, utter falsehood. They consistently published about His Excellency the President, then candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The man took the matter before the National Media Commission, offering these newspapers the opportunity to substantiate their allegations. They failed woefully, and so the NMC ruled against them and instructed that they retracted and apologized. And so, as far as I'm concerned, this matter has been put to rest. And to a lot of well-meaning people of Ghana, this is recycling from an NDC propaganda book. And it will not wash. If it did not wash before the election, and the man won an election against a sitting president, a one-term sitting president, and beat him with over 1 million votes. Now that the man is president, is doing free SHS, is doing all the wonderful things that is happening in this country. Sincerely speaking, I do not think that such reprehensible rantings from Mr. Apia Stadium should go noticed. And that is why I am particularly excited that the president has advised the police that he's not interested in this matter. I mean, and that we should not even elevate these discussions and raise it to these levels. And so it tells you that as a party and as a government and as individuals led by His Excellency the President, we are interested in protecting the rights of people, even if they abuse those rights. And so that is where we stand. The President is the one who led the repeal of the criminal libel law, for instance. And even though the process or the right that we may enjoy today, people like Mr. Apia Stadium may intend and are in fact abusing it, we still are committed to protecting those rights. Because you see, for me, a free but irresponsible media environment is better than a censored or a gagged media environment.
So in this direction, shouldn't the police have just invited this young man instead of arresting him?
Well, they could have been invited. He could have been invited. He could even have been arrested. There's no doubt about it. The police have the powers of arrest. There's no doubt about it. For the kind of you read from the newspaper that the police are quoting a section of the criminal code that they claim has been broken. I am not a lawyer. I'm not too informed about these matters, but I know from my own investigations that the police have the right of arrest. And yes, and you see, this is not the first time. There was a gentleman called Fadi, and he wrote something about the illness of President John Mahama some time ago. He was arrested. In fact, he was kept in BNI cells for about 3 days. He's a journalist too.
And you think that should be repeated?
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm speaking to the question, do they have the power to arrest? And that's why I'm illustrating to you that the powers of arrest may be there. I just said to you that even if you wanted to arrest, you can do it in a more humane and acceptable manner. Okay? Mr. Fadi was kept in BNI cells for 3 days, and so on and so forth. So that speaks to the issue of, do they have the powers? But I'm saying that these things could, just like, my position is consistent with what it was even in the case of Fadi Dabuasi. And I said that then, and I still say it today, that for me, keeping somebody in BNI cells for 3 days over what you may perceive to be irresponsible journalism and irresponsible speech, for me was taking it a little too far. And that is why I still maintain that position, that even though Mr. Apia Stadium, and I'm told that he's already been granted bail, at least he's not in BNI cells for 3 days, in less than a day he is out already. Even then, I believe that the arrest should not have happened in the manner. Now, the big icing on the cake is that His Excellency the President himself has advised that this is not a matter that he's interested in, and that the police should be advised on the matter. For me, it tells me that I have a president that, irrespective of how people abuse the rights that they have, he is bent on protecting the rights of everybody in this country.
I'm grateful. Alaji,
right.
Did the police err in arresting Apia Stadium?
Permit me, I'll answer your question, but just two things first. I would like to say good morning to you, to my colleague, and then to our viewers, and also extend my heartfelt condolences to the family of the late Gumbehina in Nyanshago. He passed on, and tomorrow will be the Boale Luabo, as we call it in our tradition. And I want to, on behalf of the NDC family in the constituency, express our deepest condolences to the family of Gumbehina in Nyanshago and all the people in Nyanshago. And we are with them in spirit as we mourn our dear father. And the second issue has to do with your newspapers. Maybe you can help me. When I came in, I wanted to read the Daily Post, and they are not here. I can see the Statesman, Daily Guide, and some of the other NPP newspapers. And I was just wondering why you don't have any of the NDC newspapers here.
Right. We haven't received them yet. I'm sure they should be.
Okay.
They have gone out of business now.
I know they are on the stands. In fact, I got my e-copies, some of my e-copies, but I just thought I could get the hard copies too. On the issue of Apia Stadium, first of all, I want to state a position on speech. I personally categorize speech into two: free speech and hate speech. Now, hate speech is when you engage in speech that incite people against, say, a group of people based on their race, based on their religion, based on their, disabilities and all that. That I condemn and I think must be punished. And even that, I do not think that the punishment should be incarceration, because anything that borders on the stifling of free expression should not be encouraged. I think free speech is a human rights issue, and we should all have the opportunity to say what we want to say, even if others consider it to be stupid. I don't think that we believe we can, I mean, there's this popular saying that if you don't believe in the freedom of speech of people you despise, then you don't believe in it at all. If you don't believe in the freedom of speech of people you despise, then you don't believe in it at all. So we either are people who believe in freedom of speech or we don't. And I am one person who thinks that freedom of speech must be encouraged at all times. And we should have the right to say things that others even consider stupid.
I'm sure you're talking about responsible things.
And I'm talking about freedom of speech.
Okay.
Freedom of speech. And that is why I first of all said that I categorize speech into two.
Right.
Hate speech, which I condemn, which I think must be punished. But even that, I don't think the punishment should be incarceration. But I think it must be punished. But freedom of speech, why not? Let us express our freedom by way of speech and let people know how intelligent or stupid we are. I mean, there's another quote by Voltaire that says that, maybe I won't be able to quote it, but I can paraphrase. Right. It says that I may disapprove of what you say, but I will fight to death your right to say it. I may disapprove of what you say, but I will fight to death your right to say it. And we have history to guide us. And you know, this country is an interesting country. If you do a little search, you realize that exactly the same time last year, we're discussing free speech.
Right. Exactly
the same time, September, 26th September,
2016, yeah.
We're discussing free speech. And it had to do with Fadi Dabosi and the kind of unprintable things he published about President Mahama. And even before President Mahama was President Mills, I recall that in one of such discussions, a respected lawyer was quoted, and I think the story is still online, to have said that it is not unlawful to insult a president in this country, and that it is completely legal. And I'm talking about lawyer Isankoma.
Since he's not here, I mean, you can.
Yes, I know. I'm building the case that, look, this is not the first time we are discussing these things, and we have history to guide us, and we have positions that we have all taken, and sometimes I wonder why we think that the things we say today will not haunt us. That's why I said that if you don't believe in the freedom of speech of people you despise, then you don't believe in it at all. Now, I, as a journalist, will recall the cases involving His Excellency Haruna Atta and Honorable Malik Kubako under the PNDC era. And I know the positions that civil society and other well-meaning Ghanaians took at the time. And the position was that even if they were reckless in their speech, they did not deserve handcuffs and they did not deserve imprisonment. That, for me, was a position I respect and a position that should be encouraged. Move forward, we had the Muntie 3. The positions shifted. I would have wished that we maintained that position, that even if they were reckless in their speech, they did not deserve incarceration. That is consistency. Then you fast forward, you had the cases of some other people even before Fadi. I remember President Mills, God bless his soul, on occasion had to also do as His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo has done. When a gentleman in the Ashanti region referred to him, I don't even want to repeat that insult. He said he was not interested in the matter, and the matter died a natural death. But then it was Fadi. Again, my position was that, yes, it is reprehensible what he has written, but incarceration should not be encouraged. But you know some of the positions some people took on Muntie, and you know the positions they took on Fadi. And that is the same approach that we seem to be using in discussing Apia Stadium. I think that, first of all, the policemen who engaged in this were overzealous to a point that we understand that they even, under duress, had to make him apologize to Nana Akufo-Addo, His Excellency the President. Uncalled for. Handcuff him, dehumanize him, and then transport him all the way from the Ashanti region to Accra to teach him a lesson. And when you are asked under what law they arrested him, they quote section 208 of the criminal code, which simply talks about panic. When you engage in speech that leads to panic.
Or you publish something
that causes panic and fear. How much fear or panic was created by what Apia Stadium did? So clearly, even without being a lawyer, you can tell that that is a wrong law that is even used. But in this country, we have reduced our politics to a point, and it has been so from the past till now, where any bad thing that happens under an administration, the president is responsible. So if Fadi was arrested by the BNI, the president gave the directive, even if he was not in support. If Prof. Mills were vilified and insulted, and some officers of the law decided to act and did so overzealously, it was President Mills who was responsible. So why are you surprised when people today argue that the directive may have come from President Nana Akufo-Addo? And that the release, the press statement that has come from the Information Ministry is only but addressing to cover up. I think that maybe this is an opportunity for the President, His Excellency, to send a message to some of these overzealous police officers that they cannot be acting in his name in that manner. And how I think he can do that is to sanction some of these police officers who were involved. I don't think that
now you are sounding overzealous.
I don't think that a mere denial will serve as enough deterrent to police officers who we know over the period have engaged in some of these things that administrations or government itself as a setup have considered unacceptable. So as the believer in freedom of expression and freedom of speech that he has been touted to be, a mere release, of a statement through the Information Ministry, for me is not enough. He must demonstrate how appalled he is to the action taken by these police officers by sanctioning those who did this. Let him request that the IGP sanctions these police officers, and then we will know that indeed he stands for everything free speech. And even if he disapproves of what people say, he will fight to death to defend their freedom to say it.
Alhaji, I'm grateful. Pius, if you disapprove of the way the police picked Apia Stadium, and particularly when they picked him in the name of the presidency, why shouldn't the president sanction these officers?
Well, factually incorrect that they picked him in the name of the president. The police did not.
Okay, let me rephrase my sentence. They picked him because he insulted the president.
Yes. So the police were not acting in the name and on the instructions of
they were acting in the name of the president.
Yes,
maybe not under his instructions.
No. They picked him because he insulted the president.
Yeah, but to say that you are acting in somebody's name means that you are acting on the person's authority.
Okay, right. That is not what I am saying. But I'm saying that since it is because of the president that they picked him, why should the president sanction him if he disagrees with their
my brother who is
action?
Cautioning against overzealousness, I find that he's being overzealous in advocating the position, canvassing the point he's canvassing, and I'll come to that. But I find some inherent contradictions in my brother's position. First of all, he thinks that there's some speech that is hate speech, and so he thinks that they are only, it's a white and black situation. It's a hate speech, and so that one should be punished.
Right.
Okay. Then he turns around in the same vein to say that even in punishing the hate speech, he already prescribes the remedy, the punishment that should be given, and so on and so forth. As I sit and I listen to him, I find some of his positions that it's not possible that we can reconcile some of these positions, because how about statements that tell lies about people? Which in his classification,
you don't think that our laws cover some of this? There are some speeches that if you made, I think the law classifies them as misdemeanor, and so it is not a case of incarceration.
Civil libels.
That I'm saying to you that for me to agree that there are some categories of speech that are incorrect and ought to be punished, and to turn around and to say that, okay, but these ones should not be punished. For me, I find quite contradictory.
Okay.
I find quite contradictory.
Honorable, I define
no, but I'm saying that, yes, you did. But I'm saying to you that that's subjective to you, and you have set your own criteria. But that's not even the major point. The major point is that, you see, if anybody is shifting the position, then I think that it is our colleagues on the other side. Here, before the honorable member spoke, I said that the police could have acted better, consistent with the position in the case of Fadi.
You won't condemn them for what they did?
I'm saying that, but it doesn't have to, I don't have to use the word condemn. We are talking about, and I'm expressing my position on it. So we don't have to.
They did a wrong thing?
But I just said to you that they could. I answered that question. You asked if they had the right. I believe that under the law, the police have the rights of arrest. But I'm saying to you that in arresting somebody, you can even do it in a much more better way. So for me, it is the NPP that has adopted a position that has been consistent. But you see, on the other hand, when Fadi was arrested, on what powers of the police and so on and so forth were not canvassed, okay, and so on and so forth. But today, the position I find from the honorable member has rather changed, and that is my worry. And I think that if we want to be sincere and let our politics grow, then we all today should be unanimous in condemning Mr. Apia, first of all, for the comments that he made. Because in this country, we all, and in fact, all over the world, we all know what is right and what is wrong. And everybody must admit that what Apia Stadium said is wrong. Especially when a competent institution of jurisdiction had already pronounced on those matters. The National Media Commission had pronounced on those matters. And so, for somebody to be recycling that, stands to be, it is condemnable, and so we must begin from condemning that, because you see, we have a nation to build. There are kids who are listening on radio. They heard the things that Mr. Apia Stadium said. If the honorable member sitting on national TV does not condemn and condemn those, chances are that somebody would think that, well, those are things that can be permissible in our discourse. It is not.
Apia has apologized for
no, but the honorable member just said that he did what he did under duress, and I believe that he's in a better position.
No, is that what he said? He said he insulted the president.
No. He said that he was forced. He was forced to issue an apology.
Not even that.
So,
that was during the arrest, but he actually apologized before even the arrest. But I'm saying that.
Well, but you see, honorable. So then, how do we then reconcile the two? If the man even apologized before the arrest,
right?
Why are we now saying that the same apology being repeated when the arrest was happening, this one was under duress? No, so that is why I'm saying that the politicization of these matters, for me, in this instance, is coming from our brothers in the NDC, and that is very, very much unpatriotic, and it doesn't inure to the total development of our country. You see, we should, at a certain point, we should let politics step aside so that we can deal with Ghanaian matters in a Ghanaian manner and Ghanaian
Before
attitude.
I ask Alhaji if the party has condemned Apia's statement, you insisting that there's no need for the president to sanction these officers?
Well, I think that what the president has done is good and in order, first of all. As for what he does subsequent, my brother is free to advise His Excellency the President. I will not advise him as such. Okay. And it is for the president to take an advice or not. I think that what the president has done now is enough. The fact that he has issued a statement and he has said to the police clearly that he's not interested in the matter and that these matters had been settled long ago and that this is just NDC propaganda, for me, should advise the police to even desist from further pursuing the matter. And for me, that is enough.
Alhaji, is the NDC, or has the NDC condemned what Apia said?
Well, to be honest with you, I have not listened to what he said. All I have seen are pieces of reportage on what he allegedly said. And my brother is consistent in making references to a matter that went to the National Media Commission. And that is a matter I am very well abreast with because I followed it at the time. And what were the newspapers that he listed reporting on? They simply were reporting on WikiLeaks. They were looking at the WikiLeaks. That was not an NDC propaganda creation. The WikiLeaks was a creation of the U.S. system, the U.S. government. And so those newspapers simply picked what the WikiLeaks at the time said about our president. And if that is what Apia Stadium repeated, then it is going to be, for me, unacceptable for one to hold him responsible for a statement that was prepared and actually filed by the United States government. And that is where I say that I may disapprove of what you say, but I will fight to death your right to say it. So, for example, if Apia Stadium, I don't know how he put it, if he put it as if to say that he has knowledge of what was published by WikiLeaks, then it will be important for us all to find out what knowledge he has. But even in finding out, we should respect his rights as a citizen and as a human being. We should not dehumanize him. We should not put him in handcuffs like it was done. But if he simply was repeating what was reported by WikiLeaks, which we all know because it was widely discussed and circulated, then I don't find the reason why we should be condemning him when, if we have any grievance at all, we should rather be targeting the United States government. And when you talk about insulting language, I'm sure you followed the Appointments Committee's work. And some of the heated issues that came up had to do with some of this insulting language. And even at that point, some of the people in the NPP, my brother will agree, still stood their grounds that some of those unprintable things they said about President Mahama were based on facts.
No,
and that those were the adjectives they could use to describe some of the things President Mahama did.
No, that's not
so you remember Otiko Jaba and the running battles we had with Honorable.
She said the president is evil because of Sada.
Yeah, so you see, if I say that His Excellency the President is ABC because I saw it in WikiLeaks, if you defend your right to call President Mahama drunkard,
is wrong.
You see, if you defend your right to insult President Mahama because you have, excuses, what right do you have to challenge another person who also defends his right to insult the one you revere based on some record that he also has? That's why I'm saying that, we see, the things we say will always haunt us.
No.
And the positions we'll take will haunt us if we are not mindful. And that's why I'm saying that, look, the position you adopt when it is about the freedom of speech of someone you despise clearly shows your approach to freedom of speech.
Your argument, Alhaji, please allow me. Please, I'm coming to you very soon. Has the party taken a position on this?
Yeah, well, clearly, the party has.
I don't work at the party.
Okay,
I work in
You're a member of the NDC. Would you condemn what Apia Stadium is
Man has
reported
defended
was
it all
sacked.
along. How can-
What I have said is this. I haven't listened to Apia Stadium.
Okay.
So I am not going to jump the gun to condemn him. What I have heard people report will not be basis enough for me to condemn him.
Okay,
and as somebody who knows about what is reported, I am saying that if, for example, I pick the WikiLeaks and I publish it, I should not be the one to be condemned. And so if Apia Stadium was speaking based, and that's why I haven't listened to him, if he was speaking on his own knowledge, then it will be important to find out what he knows. And if he's not able to substantiate that, then we can condemn him for just engaging in recklessness.
If I ask you,
if I pick the WikiLeaks and I publish the WikiLeaks, and if Apia Stadium was simply repeating what was in the WikiLeaks and was quoting his source, then it will be unfair to blame Apia Stadium and leave the U.S. government.
let me ask you
So maybe
this.
we should condemn the U.S. government.
Let me ask you this. If I tell you that Daily Guide is reporting that Apia Stadium has insulted the President of the Republic of Ghana, just that, would you condemn him for insulting the President of Ghana or any other public officer?
I don't trust the Daily Guide.
Yeah, but you trust the WikiLeaks.
Okay.
That's very instructive.
All right. I'm grateful.
But you trust the WikiLeaks.
I'm
That's
grateful.
very...
Paz, I'm grateful.
Yeah,
I didn't
but-
ask you to do my job for me. I'm grateful. All right.
No, but
Please
it's
come in.
instructive. It's instructive.
Please come in.
But you see, to say that when you are simply repeating somebody, you cannot be held liable is incorrect. If you are repeating somebody, you could be held liable
I'm
for
saying
even.
you should not be condemned.
No,
I didn't say you. Liable is different. Liability is
It
different.
is even condemnation is even
A lighter word?
It's a lighter word.
Good.
You understand?
But quote me right.
So don't say
quote me right.
If you are going to condemn somebody, it means that the person can be held liable. It means what the person did is wrong. So you can hold him liable.
What I'm
So I
saying
don't
is that-
see what
okay,
I don't understand.
If there's a condemnation,
I'm
then
saying
it
that
should go to the
but I'm
US
saying that, but
government.
I'm saying that is why if we say things here on your platform, sometimes you issue disclaimers.
Right.
Because just by merely saying this, and you not even saying it, just by me merely saying it on your platform, puts you in a position where you can be condemned and be held liable. So for me to even this newfound love for WikiLeaks and its matters that Honorable Suhini is professing here, to say that merely repeating those, and that's why you asked a very, very, for me, important question, that as a Ghanaian, as a human being, somebody who is supposed to fairly appreciate these matters, right-thinking person, it is reported that somebody has been insulted. Can you condemn it? We are finding it difficult to answer that simple question.
No, let me give you
Let me
give you an example.
He said he didn't trust my source.
No, but I'm saying that.
Trust the source.
But I'm
so
saying
how
that.
can I be convinced that he has insulted the
Well,
president?
well,
Why should I rush to condemn him based on a source I don't trust?
A basis has been
I don't
established
think,
to you.
Honorable, if
A
you want
basis
me
has
to-
been
if you want
established
me-
to you. That,
Excuse
as
me.
to whether you trust the source or not is not in contention. That's not what we are discussing.
I'll give you an example.
You
when
were
you
asked a
finish.
direct question. Okay, assuming that the Daily Post said this, that
I
Apia
will
Stadium
give you an
insulted the
example
president.
when
Will
you
you condemn it? Why are you saying that you take action because of the
Okay.
frame? You interpret things in a certain frame.
I'll give you
When
an
it comes-
example.
Okay.
No, so let's ask the question.
Let's wrap up on this one.
So let's ask the question. If the Daily Post or the Al-Hajj newspaper or the Enquirer had published that Stadium,
I don't
Apia
have any
Stadium,
of them on this
yeah, I'm
platform.
saying that
It's
if they had published that Apia Stadium insulted the president, then would you condemn it?
Let me make
I
this
mean,
clear.
let's wrap up on this.
We should be consistent.
Let me make this.
We should be consistent
Yes, ask
in
a
our
question. Let me
yes,
answer
we
you.
should be
Let me
consistent
answer
in
you.
our position.
Let me answer you. I think it is condemnable for anybody to insult the president of this republic.
So
It
do
is
that.
condemnable. But what I'm saying is that if you tell me that someone has insulted the president, I will want to trust that source
That's okay.
before I make a condemnation. For example, Pius, just 2 weeks ago, there was a
But
headline.
you were here and I
there was
told
a
you that
headline.
I
No,
listened.
no,
I
listen.
listened.
Okay,
Can
how can I trust you? There was a headline that said I had insulted
US can.
accounts. Do you remember?
Right.
There was a headline that said I had insulted accounts.
When you
Now,
said
if
that
you
there was a
jump,
big-
if you jump on that headline and you condemn me, I mean, is that being fair? Because the simple fact
When
is
you
that
said
I
that-
did not
when you
insult.
said
Let me
somebody was
quickly
a pig.
take some comments on this
mean when you said
issue,
that
and
somebody
then
was a pig?
when we have time, we can wrap up with the GES
I'm hearing
issue.
it from your horses, from the horse's own mouth. Then it means you are a horse.
Okay.
Enterprise.
So,
That you
all
said.
right.
so you said that
No.
you're hearing it from the pig's own mouth.
If I say I'm hearing from the horse's own mouth, then you are horse.
All right, Johnny, good morning once again.
Your level of
Okay, let's see some of the comments. We'll come back.
I will not
No, we'll come back. Johnny is here. Let's
I
take
will
some
not
comment.
respond with a pen.
Yes. So
Gentlemen,
in that comment, you
can
you meant to say
take
that
some
the gentleman
comments and
who
then
wanted to
we
receive
can-
was a pig.
So if I say I'm hearing from the horse's own mouth, it means you are a horse.
No, but I'm saying that.
School children are listening. Let's educate them.
All right, I'm grateful.
Honorable member said
Gentlemen, I think we'll wrap up on that one. But let's quickly take a look at this one on the Daily Graphic. The Ghana Education Service has directed the management of Prempeh College to reverse decision to sack 51 students, first-year students, because of poor performance. It has further directed the management of the school to immediately draw up a remedial plan to support the affected students to enable them complete their secondary education. The issue is that they were repeated in Form 1. They failed to pass, according to the story here, 5 subjects, and so they were repeated. The headmaster had issues with whether they qualify to be placed under the free senior high school or they don't. Now, the school has said they were not dismissed, but the latest twist is that the GES is directed that the students be promoted to Form 2. That's according to the Daily Graphic, that the student be promoted to Form 2, and then the headmaster of the school is being asked to put together a remedial package to enable the students, the affected students, get the opportunity to pick up whatever they've lost and why they were repeated. That's the story so far. Paz, let me again start with you. Now, repeating in schools is something that is done. It's part of the process of education. If you are unable to do well, you are repeated. Now, these students have been repeated in Form 1. The headache of the headmaster is whether they will enjoy the free senior high school. Now, because of the GSS, take them to Form 2 and find a way to help them get to the level of those who are in Form 2, meaning that find a way to help them do well. Now, is this because of the free senior high school? That's why they have to do what we call wholesale promotion?
Well, thank you very much. I think that if you read the story, the headline says that GES annuls dismissal of 51 students. So the ordinary understanding is that they were actually asked to leave the school. That's what you call a dismissal. And that is what the GES initially came up against.
Right.
And you are trying to explain that the school administration, who initially may have dismissed the students, is backtracking.
Right.
And saying that, well, we can take you back. We can accept the annulment imposed on us by the GES, but we cannot promote you to Form 2, stay in Form 1. So it is just that there is a change in position. I'm saying that people do things just to defend themselves and all. In the first place, was it correct for the school authorities to dismiss the students because they failed to live up to a certain expectation? They said poor performance. So because of poor performance in the first year, you are sending 51 students out of school?
The school authorities denied that they were only repeated.
Well, but I'm saying
it was the media that got it wrong and spoke about dismissal. They said they were not dismissed. They had been repeated.
It's not a question of the media. It's about the GES. The GES is better informed on these matters than even the media. And the GES has the structures and the institutions that superintends all these institutions. So if the GES annuls a dismissal, it presupposes that there was a dismissal. So it is not for me what the school authorities later come to deny or accept. So I'm saying that for me, I find a gradual shift in the position of the school authorities. They just want to make a bad case look good.
Okay.
But I'm saying that as a teacher, I know too well that the responsibility of a student's performance does not only lie with the student. And so teachers must also brace themselves up to sometimes accept responsibilities when their students fail to perform to a certain acceptable level. And I'm saying that I know that as a teacher, there are always remedial actions that can be taken. It is not merely a repetition.
So you're saying that the school actually sacked them?
But that is what if GS is annulling a dismissal, then there would have been a sack. And I'm saying that I, as a teacher, I know that you can have, they are just 51. They could again be treated as special cases, not a wholesale repetition. That also does not resolve the problem.
Okay.
So teachers we must learn to treat our students on a need-based approach. One by one, every student must be attended to, and taken care of. So I know that you could repeat a student so that the student picks up. I know that a student can still move on. Whilst he moves on, you take steps, remedial steps, to make sure that he catches up with his students. Especially when now that we have free SHS and that we are dealing with numbers. At what point did the school authorities notice or take the decision that even if these students were in fact earlier sacked and now the position is changing, even if it is the case that it is merely a repetition, at what point was the decision taken? And how was the relevant authorities informed? Because we were dealing with absolute numbers.
Okay.
And we knew how many people were going to go into the first year. So you put a certain number of students, you admit a certain number of students to go to a school, only to realize that, the spaces do not even exist because the Form 1s who should have moved on to Form 2 haven't moved on. If we do not stop some of these things, teachers will become lazy in their work, and they will merely keep repeating.
So in fact, you are saying that like the GES is asking all regional directors to visit all senior high schools and ensure that students in similar situations were promoted to the second year.
Plus, if the student, and this is which school are you talking about?
This is Prep College.
I'm saying that these are students who have done well at the BEC, their capacity is there, and all that, and so on and so forth. They are now into secondary school. We as teachers, we must make sure that the students that we help them to get to where they have to they have to get to. Okay. And this whole wholesale repetition should be discouraged.
Okay.
And I'm speaking as a practitioner on the field.
Grateful. Johnny, let's pick some comment before I get larger, so you need to wrap up.
Right, thank you very much. So if I say we're going to a pork show, what does it mean? Asantuma Kwame in Magina Nanakrom says, every day we say freedom of speech and the rule of law. This will lead to something serious in this country one day. Nina ho kwan nanso enye ni nyina na efatayen. The only commandment that goes with a promise in the Bible is the honor of our parents for long life. God bless President Akufo-Addo. And good morning, TV3. The issue of land guard is very worrying, especially for those of us in Kaswa Millennium City. We have legitimately acquired our lands from the estate company and now battling with land guards from the Gomoafete chiefs. These miscreants are pulling people's investment down without recourse to the law. And you say even the estate company is coming to your aid. Please, we urgently need your help. I'm prepared to speak to your media on what we're going through in the Millennium City. Leave your number in the WhatsApp console. We'll fish it out and speak to Emmanuel in Dalsoma. Good morning. My name is Emmanuel and I'm speaking from Kaswa. Okay, yeah, you're texting from Kaswa. I'm part of the students who just completed this year, 2017 BEC. I got the school that I wanted, but I did not get boarding house, so boarding facility. So the teachers told my mom to rent a house for me, but the payment is too high. I'll be glad if the government will do something about it and also make me continue my school. Well, thank you. Mr. Hughes, the president, please be patient with the president. He has stopped Dumso Galamsey and just initiated pro bono SHS. The cleaning of Accra presents a totally different challenge. That one involves a change in the way we litter the environment. It's only Ghanaians that can make the effort, see the light of day, not the central government. From Rennie Alta. Rennie, I hear you, but the president made a promise, so we'll keep reminding him. The National Development Plan could have been used as a basis to determine who should be voted into power based on what exact the government has been able to do to implement projects and programs from the plan. With this, there wouldn't have been contradictions when the new government is in power. You're talking about a blueprint, I'm sure. Alassane Suale. And good morning. Please help us remind the government that just as we are working, we need to eat. We, the 2015 batch of nurses, were posted in April 2017 and have still not been paid. It's almost half a year now and we still don't know what's going on. How do they expect us to work effectively on empty stomachs? We're appealing to the government to please look into our issue. Mona from Tamale. Alassane Wanaiwa says, now it's obvious that the black and white TV Ghanaians were viewing has changed to color TV. We can now see clearly free SHS, fertilizer subsidies, removal of nuisance taxes, and historic victory for Ghana's maritime case. I thought we were going to add WAFU as well. I strongly believe the taxes on fuel must be reviewed to reduce the burden on Ghanaians. Fuel is so painful to buy now these days, and government must do something. Ghana will work again. George Kwating of Adenta. His Excellency Nanado, through his hard work, subordinates are ensuring law and order. I'm happy to be Ghanaian. Theophilus in Kansas University of Ghana. Good morning, guys. Senior Bright. This Apia Stadium thing, I don't really know the story, and the NDC friend on social media brought my attention to it. He was busily posting on social media that why he should be arrested for freedom of speech. You see how some of these NDC followers can behave, calling that freedom of speech and saying the government is against freedom of speech. These guys are not serious in Ghana. Promise from La Paz. Finally, Diamond Ashong from Teshi says the arrest of Apia Stadium is like chasing a pig into the gutter. The officers just made a hero out of nobody. Kindly wish Chairman Freddie Blay a belated birthday for me. Happy birthday to you, belated. Really, Senior Bright, your viewers, they have their own set of ideas.
Elijah, I've run out of time, but you wrap up for me.
Ooh, you have run out
yes,
of time.
I have. Sorry about that.
Interesting issue that I wish we had time to discuss further. You know, no amount of propaganda can hide the weaknesses in this so-called savior of our educational system called free SHS. No amount of billboards and radio and TV adverts can hide the fact that we have schools overcrowded. Some of them are sleeping on the floor. Their chop boxes are outside. And we are training such people to become future leaders. And I think it is simply exposing the position of the NDC that we needed to emphasize on expanding infrastructure alongside introducing this free SHS. And once again, free SHS, like we all know, is the verdict on it was decided in 1992 when it was included in our constitution to be implemented. And so it is not a novel idea, but it is simply that when you have to implement something, you take your time and do it well. That when it has to be done, it has to be done well. And that consistently was the approach of the NDC. Now you have a case where headmasters are so intimidated that they are confused about what to do. And my brother here is encouraging a situation where we wholesale promote students. And
he's
then
not the one. GES has actually asked the regional directors to go to.
I'm saying he's promoting.
He's promoting.
Okay, he's promoting, and the idea where we wholesale promote students, let them graduate, whether they are useful or not, just push them, simply because we want to introduce a so-called free SHS. In some of these schools that we are talking about, the parents together with teachers decided that if they are wards are not doing well, they should be repeated, and they are they are will. I mean, you can check it.
In the prem
and
parents and students themselves have complained.
Parents,
So
you know, together with the teachers agreed that when they reduced it, when they what do you call it? You see, you are interrupting my flow. When they are repeated, when they are repeated, you prepare them adequately so that they can write the WASI exams and be in a better position to progress, instead of just wholesale promoting them and bringing them out as half-baked, you know, literate. It is also a burden on our society. And I'm saying all of this is because we want a propaganda value.
No.
The thinking behind the implementation of the free SHS is not for quality education and the production of better future leaders. It is to win the next election. And that is a wrong approach.
I am grateful. Alhaji Suyini is a member of parliament for the Tamale North constituency and a member of the NDC. Pius Enam Hajide is a deputy minister of youth and sports, a member of the NPP. Gentlemen, unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to talk about it. Those of you who sent in your comments, we are grateful for doing that. Stay with us. There is sports after this.
Welcome back. I don't know what you know about rabies, but of course, for most people, when they see someone, acting funny because they've been bitten by a dog, that's the only time they think about rabies. But it's high time we talk more about it so you and I can know how to prevent it. And also, in case you see someone who has it, you can send them to the hospital for appropriate treatment. Speaking to me on the subject, I have Dr. Kenneth Bede. He is the Director for Veterinary Services. I also have Dr. Richard Suire. He is the REWA Chairman, and he's a veterinary expert. Welcome, or good morning, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So let's delve straight into the topic of rabies. Of course, like I said, everyone who knows about rabies knows it's between a human being and a dog. But is that all there is to rabies?
No, that is not all there is to it. Rabies is a disease that once, has got no treatment. It's 100% or 99.9%. Once you you get bitten by an infected dog, and then you start showing signs, then you are gone. You are done for. There's no treatment of it. That is why it's so important that we bring this out for the general population to know that it is not treatable, but it is 100% preventable.
So, Dr. Suire, for you, what would you tell us as Ghanaians? If I meet a dog who looks rabid, or I even come into contact with a dog, how do I prevent myself from being attacked and also getting rabies?
The first thing is that there should be responsible dog ownership in the first place. If there's responsibility for your dog, the dog should not be stray and roaming about on the street.
Definitely.
But if you are on the street and you find a stray dog, you should actually not run away from it or, frighten it.
Okay.
You frighten it, it will attack you. You should, as much as possible, try to go away. But you should not also run. Because if you run, and it might be frightened in an attempt to run, or if you yell at the dog, in yelling at it, it will be frightened.
Right.
And the next thing, if you frighten me, is to attack you. So these are some of the tricks that we are talking about. If a dog is in the family, then you should be introduced to the dog. Gently introduced to the dog, especially those who are staying in family, in the compound houses, and you want to keep a pet. As much as possible, you should introduce to the people who are around, so that the dog will gradually get to know them. And then you train the children, or you teach the children how to handle a dog or how to approach a dog. If you approach a dog, it's as friendly as any other animal.
Okay, so if I'm bitten by a dog, what steps should I take?
You are bitten by a dog. The number one step is to, as much as possible, wash your hands. And it is said that you should wash with running water. Because if you wash your hand in the stagnant water, you are just adding more virus to the hand. So you wash your hand under a tap or running water. You can easily get running water even if there's no tap. The water is poured over the wound and you wash it. If you have soap, that is good. But this is the most important preventive measure. Washing your hands very well, or washing the bite wound very well with running water and soap is very important. After which you apply a disinfectant or something, and then you go to the hospital,
to the nearest health center.
The nearest health center for the necessary treatment.
So that's about the 4 steps outlined in this poster.
Yes.
What to do when bitten by a dog.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so as in Ghana, what are we doing to prevent it? Because oftentimes, like you said, there's no treatment per se. But once people are bound to get into contact with dogs because there's so many stray dogs on our streets.
Yeah.
What then should we do in terms of is there a way of preventing it?
Yes, the best way of preventing rabies is to prevent it from the source.
Okay.
That is through vaccination of dogs all over the place. At the Veterinary Services Directorate, we used to designate specific time during the year where we vaccinate all dogs in the area. That is, each district carries out mass dog vaccination. And some years back, it used to be free, but due to budgetary constraints and the cost of the vaccines, it's no more free. But the charge for the vaccinations is minimal. And we try as much as possible to create awareness that we will be vaccinating within this period of time, so that we get this public address vans to go around the various communities to announce to the people, those who have dogs and cats as well, to bring them out for vaccination. So public awareness creation is one of the biggest decisions, because that gives us the chance to vaccinate all the dogs available.
Right.
Yes, that was in the 80s that we used to have that. You know, Ghana was so nice. They go around and make announcements, and everybody, you see long queues and you vaccinate dogs. But after that, the Bretton Woods institutions come down with their policies that veterinary should be self-financing. You have to recoup, you have to take all these costs, and that is what is creating the problem. But I think it is necessary that we go back. The basic thing is education.
It is.
Yes. We have to educate the public to know that if you are bitten by a rabies dog, there's no way you will survive. Yes, you are likely going to die, because even last week we had a meeting with Ghana Health Service. The vaccines are not even there. Exactly. The human vaccine for treatment is not there. It's not there. So give the director is saying minimal. It costs about 5 cedis to go and vaccinate a dog.
Right.
I think your life is more than 5 cedis. And I think every Ghanaian, if we are serious and we want to be responsible dog owners, we should be able to vaccinate a dog.
But that's where the problem lies, Dr. Suire, because most of these dogs are stray. They don't have ownership. And until we get those dogs off the streets, because most of the patients I see who have been bitten by a dog happen to be stray dogs. What are we going to do actively in government to help care that?
One thing we can also do is that we know it's difficult to get hold of those stray dogs. But the dogs, if we're able to get, first we need to have a fair idea of the dog population within the certain area. But it's been proven that if for 3 consecutive years you're able to vaccinate at least 70% of the dog population in an area, that with time the disease will be cleared in the area. So even if we are not able to get those stray animals, but once those animals that we can identify and we know the population, if we can get as 70+% vaccinated 1, 2, 3 consecutive years, rabies, you are guaranteed to get rid of the disease in the community.
We proved what Director is just saying. We have proven it in Ghana. Some few years back, the Commonwealth Veterinary Association, I was the president that time, we did a pilot project in the Cape Coast. I can confirm to you here, Dr. Ajima, that there's nothing like stray dog in Ghana. All the dogs are owned. They are owners.
You have community dogs.
Community dogs, they are owned. We did vaccination. After that, the Cape Coast municipality assisted, and then they captured the dogs. That was one of my colleagues. She did very well, Dr. Sherry Elibu. And then they captured those dogs. Within the day, everybody came and owned up for his dog.
Nice.
Yes.
So and maybe we should do that.
For about 6 years now, they have never registered rabies in Cape Coast. This was confirmed by the pharmacist who was in charge there, And she confirmed that since that time, they've never gotten human rabies in Cape Coast.
Anyway.
Yes.
Let me ask a final question, because I want to know the statistics. As it stands now, how many people can we say in Ghana have died from rabies?
The total that had died, I don't have those figures off right. But on the average, we get not less than 10 people dying each year from rabies through the bite of infected dogs.
Even if one person dies from rabies.
Yes, it is significant.
And I can assure you that these are reported cases. Those that are not reported are millions.
Unreported.
Yes. The reporting is very poor.
Anyway, this is all time will afford us to. But we do have vaccination centers. We'll let you know about that later in the course of the show. We'll tell you about where you can take your dog to be, to receive free rabies vaccination in Accra, in Kumasi, and in Suhum. But on that note, that's all time will afford us. We'll be right here with more for you on NewDay. Stay with us.
Media.
Performed lovely by the harmonious chorale. It's titled Adansi Kron Kron, the true testimony or the actual account, the perfect account. And that's the man we're celebrating right on your screens, Emeritus Professor J.H. Nketia, who's 96. Earlier in the year, he celebrated his 96th birthday. But tonight, at the State Banquet Hall, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, along with some other prominent citizens of this land, the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, and many other prominent sons and daughters, will be celebrating him, his life, his work, his scholarly performance, and all of that. It's under the auspices of the AUCC Center for African Studies, and we'll be having a chat with that. Let's get on to the conversation now with Mr. Charles Prempeh, who is a lecturer at the AUCC and part of the Planning Committee. Chief, good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for putting this together. This is good.
It is, and thank you too for hosting us and giving us space to air what we have concerning the great man, the great ethnomusicologist, and what he has done nationally and internationally as far as music and culture are concerned.
For you, why would you dedicate a whole department to a man of this nature? We agree he must be celebrated, but what went into the thinking?
Right, so basically there are two things. You know, when any African scholar wants to write about Africa, you are constrained, right, primarily by the source of information, where you get your information. Now, there's one scholar, Valentine Mudimbe, who talks about the colonial library. So when we are writing, we make reference to the library or the archival materials that were left behind by the colonialists. And virtually whatever it is in there is a reflection of what they wrote concerning us, not we writing about ourselves. So that is one. And then recently, one scholar, Usman Khan, has talked about the Arabic script, that we should go to Arabic sources also for information. But what is unique about Professor Nketia's work is that he has a collection of field notes that are essentially relevant in any field of academic pursuit.
Interesting. A man of many parts. Poet, musician.
And anthropologist, ethnomusicologist, a historian, all put together in one person. So he's actually the embodiment of the totality of our culture as a people and then our history. So his writings, as a matter of fact, serve as primary source of documental information.
We'll be getting more of that information later tonight, but the big day is happening at the banquet hall,
the State Banquet Hall.
What time is it starting?
5:30.
5:30 p.m.
5:30 p.m. and it lasts at 8:30 p.m.
8:30 p.m.
Exactly.
We're told the president is confirmed to be there.
He'll be there.
Of course. I mean,
he'll be there.
And so why?
He's the patron for the celebration.
For the celebration.
That is
interesting.
Yeah.
Are we looking at digitizing Prof's work?
Exactly.
I saw some of his books, very old books.
Very old books. I mean, he started publishing way back in the 1950s. So you can imagine. I mean, historically or in historiography, it takes 30 years for a material to be considered an archival material. And if he started publishing in the 1950s, obviously most of his publications
I want to
are
go onto Google
archival.
and type Professor J.H. Nketia and find his work.
His works.
His compositions, his annotations. I want to find some.
That is exactly the reason for this event. I mean, we intend raising fund to digitize his works. I mean, the world has gone digitization. So what it means is that we need to get his works readily available online so that anyone at all who is interested in not just studying music, but other areas of African society should be able to have ready access to those materials.
I'm grateful, Mr. Prempeh. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
So tonight is happening, but it's strictly by invitation.
By invitation. By invitation. But we are thinking of having an account where persons who are interested in supporting this project would be able to donate.
We've run out of time. We'll put that out shortly.
But we don't have the account number now, so it will come later.
Up. Absolutely, and we'll put that out. So that's happening tonight. Celebration of the exemplary life and the scholarly exploits of the Emeritus Professor J.H. Nketia tonight at the State Banquet Hall. It's happening. The President will be there, and other dignitaries as well will be there If you've been invited, make your way there. Let's support a worthy cause. After the break, GMB 10 Northern Regional Representative Hiba is in the house. I'll show you. We'll have a chat with her. Of culture from one emeritus professor, we go to a very young, budding lady, beautiful one, of course, who's putting together a very special initiative, HCS Smile with Hiba Foundation. Hiba, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Boa, give me the queenly wave.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
You look wonderful.
Thank you.
I see.
Thank you. Give glory to
So
God.
Saturday, a lot is happening up there in the north.
A lot in the
Share with
northern
me,
region. Yes. It's all about the Smock Festival. That's the HCS Hibachu Smock. I remember I spoke a lot about the Smock Festival.
Yes,
on
I do.
GMB. So we're having a grand deba. We'll have our chiefs, we'll have our MPs.
Okay.
In fact, I'm expecting every northern MP.
Wow.
I just saw Honorable Suwine, so he must be there. Honorable, come for my show.
Say good morning to Honorable Aruna Idrisu as well.
Yes, I'm expecting them. Honorable, I went to his place, but I couldn't see him, so I'm expecting him. The defense minister, I'm expecting him.
Honorable Butawakilo.
In fact, every northern MP, I'm expecting all of them and all Ghanaians to come support. We're having the Deba at Jubilee Park, where we're going to have our chiefs. We're going to give awards to the best weaver of the year, best fabric of the year, and the best creativity. You know, when I went there recently, I saw someone who was able to use the smoke to make a sofa.
Wow.
In his room, and it was beautiful.
Wow.
Very, very beautiful. So we're going to look at people who go beyond
innovation.
The normal things we see.
Is the Ministry for Culture, Tourism and Creative Arts supporting you?
Yes,
they are.
And the deputy minister, I'm really, really expecting him to be there.
I
told him to come and talk to his people. He said, "Hiba, my people are our people." I said, "Okay, our people."
So Saturday, 11 a.m. Jubilee Park.
Yes, Jubilee Park.
But there are two things. You're launching the Hiba Choose Smock Foundation, and then we're celebrating the Smock.
We're celebrating the Smock Festival, that's HCS. Then we're launching the Smile with Hiba Foundation.
Oh, okay.
The Smile with Hiba Foundation is the mother foundation, and purposely is to share our smiles with the rest of the world, just as the name suggests. We hope to reach out to the vulnerable, the less privileged, and to assist people. So we go to companies and other people. But apart from the festival we are celebrating, we have a long-term plan. And the long-term plan is that we hope to introduce a Smock Friday, just as President Kufuor introduced African Print Friday. So maybe even if you can't have it every Friday, but maybe every first Friday of the month or every last Friday of the month, we'll talk to companies and institutions. We can get your corporate colors. Then we make smocks for your workers.
Wow, I see. I won't mind wearing a smock blazer.
I know, right? I know, right?
But I wish you all the best, and thank you. We'll be there Saturday to support you. So that's your beauty queen, our beauty queen there. And well, I nearly asked her about what she makes of the current representative of the. What do you think of the GMB girls? I mean, just 30 seconds for you.
Oh, they are simply amazing.
The ladies.
Simply amazing. Simply amazing. I think they are learning very quick, and that is the purpose of GMB. It's not about someone who is so talented, but it's the ability to bring out what is hidden in another person. And I think the purpose has been fulfilled. Yes.
You choose GMB.
I wish them all the best. I choose GMB. I just hope that the best wins.
You want to be biased for the crown to come to the north. Anyway, let's take a walk now. We're going away now. We'll be back on your screens tomorrow morning. It's Wednesday. It's wet. It's rainy. If you're driving, exercise caution and patience, and check your brakes, your tires, and don't be speeding. We need you alive. See you tomorrow. Have a great morning. Top of the morning to you.